playing the Atlanta Falcons. They're down 28-3 heading into the fourth quarter. One of the most memorable comebacks in NFL history. And the Patriots basically come back alive in that game, scoring 25 points, consecutive points, just to force overtime. One of my favorite catches was the Julian Edelman play that nobody thought in their right mind he would have caught. And how about the stupid penalties that the Falcons got when they had the ball going down the field in the fourth quarter? Really some really bad penalties at midfield that forced them to turn the ball over. And at the end of the game, they were able to go to the Falcons couldn't drive down the field to get the game-winning field goal. And I predicted last year, when I had Sean and Jamie on the show, that it was going to be 30-27, except this time, it could have been a 31-28 game. Instead, wasn't the case. Went to overtime. The Patriots won the coin toss, and we all knew once the Patriots won with Tom Brady, that was it. The game was over, and it was. The game-winning touchdown to James White. Booyaka Shah, they win 34-28. And Tom Brady wins his fourth MVP. He wins his fifth Super Bowl ring in his history, and he basically takes over the record from his childhood hero, Joe Montana, because he grew up in North Cali, and was a 49er fan. And he now had the most Super Bowl rings over Joe Montana, the most MVPs over Joe Montana, who only won 3. And Bill Belichick became the winningest coach in Super Bowl history with his 5th championship. Now they have a chance. If they win this Sunday, they will win their 6th championship, which will tie the Steelers for the most Super Bowls all time in NFL history. And that will bring Brady closer to maybe taking over Otto Graham's record of 7 individual championships, which he still has to this day. Now let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. But this season, let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles and their history. This is only their 3rd appearance. They were in Super Bowl 15 when they played the Oakland Raiders. They lost 27-10 in that game. There were 3 interceptions by Ron Jaworski in the game. One that led to a 2-yard touchdown play by the Raiders from Jim Plunkett, and then another that led to a field goal. At the end of the day, Rod Martin with 3 interceptions, which is still an NFL record, it's Super Bowl record in one single game, hasn't been matched. And Plunkett was 13-21, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns, and became the 2nd Heisman Trophy winner and NFL Super Bowl MVP. First time since Roger Staubach from Super Bowl 6. Then we go to Super Bowl, as I mentioned earlier, Super Bowl 39. They wasted 3 minutes and 52 seconds off the clock from the Greg Lewis 30-yard touchdown, the Rodney Harrison interception. They lost 24-21. The last time this proud organization won a championship was 1960 when they beat the Green Bay Packers 17-13 at the old Franklin Field in Philadelphia, PA, which is still used to this day for the Penn relays. Paul Hornung gets the first score of the game for the Packers. They're up 20-yarder. They're up 3-0. Then Hornung, another 23-yard field goal for the Packers. They're up 6-0. Then Ty McDonald gets the first score of the game, a 35-yard touchdown from Norm Van Brocklin. 2 great players. Yeah, imagine that. Norm Van Brocklin. One of the greatest in history. They're up 7-6. Walston, 15-yard field goal for the Eagles. They're up 10-6. Then the Max McGee 7-yard touchdown from Bart Starr, and yet the Packers retake the lead. They're up 13-10. Finally, Ted Dean gets the 5-yard game-winning rushing touchdown for the Eagles in the fourth quarter, and they win 17-13. That was the first time ever in the history of the playoffs that Vince Lombardi ever lost. First recorded loss. He went on to win 5 NFL championships and 2 Super Bowls. One of the greatest of all time. Now, these 2 teams in their seasons was unique. First week of the season, that was when things really were bad for the Patriots. They were defending their championship from Super Bowl 51, beginning their their title defense, and they couldn't have gone off in worse fashion, losing 42-27 to the Chiefs and letting Kareem Hunt destroy them for 246 yards. And Philadelphia took care of business with Wentz. Throughout part of the season, Carson Wentz had at least four touchdown games. And that is the most he's ever done a single season. He was at the center of the season, Carson Wentz, until the unfortunate turning point was week 14 when they played the Rams and he tore his left ACL. And nobody knew whether or not, we all knew that was it. But nobody knew whether or not the Eagles were going to be able to recover from that and get to this point. That's where the whole underdog mantra, I think, came from. The Dogmas didn't make their debut till the playoffs, but there were whispers from people who are not Eagle fans that they were done. That was it. Nick Foles was not going to be able to do anything. His first game at the gate as a starter in almost 4 years with the organization, remember that 2013 season? He had 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He comes out, throws 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, leading the Eagles to a 34-29 victory over the Giants. Sorry, G-men or Giant fans. I didn't mean to bring that up, but it did happen. That was the day I actually was traveling to Gettysburg with my family on December 17th. I was watching part of that game in the car. Anyway, then the following week, Christmas night, Monday Night Football against the Raiders. That was a game where you had back-to-back fumble recovery turnovers, and yet they still beat the Raiders 16-10 and thereby won home field advantage throughout the playoffs, along with having the NFC's championship and a first-round bye. So they had everything they needed. Week 17, they played Foles for one measly quarter, 34 yards. Was not great, but then again, it was the final week of the season, so we really can't count that. They lost 6-0 to the Cowboys. Bryce Butler got the game-winning touchdown from Dak Prescott. I guess a small consolation for the Cowboys at that point. Anyway, so we head into the playoffs right here, and they're playing in the divisional round against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are coming off a nice 26-13 victory over the Rams in the wild card round with a lot of confidence being able to win this game. And in fact, this was the first time that the Falcons, the number 6 team, were favored over the number 1 seeded team. And that's where the birth of the underdog mantra came into being. And we saw Chris Long and several teammates wearing dog masks, to really emphasize that mantra. Elliott had 3 field goals in the game. There were no touchdowns from Foles, but no interceptions. And so he didn't make any mistakes. That was a good part. Well, they're up 15-10 over the Falcons on the Falcons. Falcons are driving down the field with a chance to win the game. 1st and goal at the Philly 9. They decide to pass ball instead of run, which they should have done. Same thing happened again. Finally, they get down to the 2-yard line on 4th and goal. Of course, Atlanta has no choice but to go for it with such little time left. They go for it. Ryan is out of the pocket, goes to his left, throws to his right, over the hands of Julio Jones. Eagles win, advance to the title game. Then they advance to play the Minnesota Vikings. As we know, the Minnesota Vikings defeated the New Orleans Saints 29-24 in the miracle in Minneapolis because of Stephon Diggs' 61-yard touchdown reception on 3rd and 10 from their own 39-yard line with no timeouts, 10 seconds left. Now they're playing each other. Minnesota's coming out of the gate. They're up 7-0 at this point. And it looks like, again, Case Keenum is driving them down the field for what could make it a 2-score game. Instead, Chris Long, the defensive end for the Eagles, comes through the middle of the pocket, smacks into Case Keenum's hands, causing him to throw a really erratic, bad pass that gets in the hands of Patrick Robinson, weaving his way first from the left, then he crosses to the right, goes down the right sideline for 50 yards, and they're tied at 7-all. And the game turned on its head. The game turned like that, and they scored 38 straight points. And they scored another 31 points including my favorite, that 53-yard touchdown play. I think that was to Nelson Aguilar. And then you had one to Torrey Smith with double coverage, and they won 38-7. And now they're in the big title game. The reason the Eagles are there, because not only do they have a great defense, especially against the run at 79.2 yards a game, but they also have a good array of running backs with Corey Clement and LeGarrette Blount, who's been in this situation before. Last year, led the NFL with 17 touchdowns, had to have less this year because the Eagles team, they like to spread the ball a lot, so he wasn't going to be the number one featured back like he was last year with the Patriots. And then you have Jay Ajayi. Great acquisition they picked up. And look what he did in his debut game and he just was spectacular then. And he's spectacular ever since. And one of my favorite games, they destroyed Denver really bad. That was with Carson Wentz. One of my least favorite was when they played the Falcons. No, they played the Seahawks this year, especially when Carson Wentz first and goal at the Seattle 1 and fumbles in the second half, and that really turned things on a dime right there. But Nick Foles this year now has the weight of this city on his shoulders. He's got a lot that he's got to do to get this team over the top. But I'll get into them a little more in a bit. What about the New England Patriots? As I mentioned earlier, week 1, they are terrible. 2 out of the first 4 weeks in terms of total yards they gave up. Well, the first 2 games alone were pitiful by the defense. Then they go on an 8-game winning streak where they gave up less than 17 points, not less than 200 total yards, and and have scored on all cylinders. And Tom Brady, what's great about this year is the way he's able to spread the ball. Whether you got Gronkowski on 3rd and long situations or in the red zone, or if you got deal ball to Chris Hogan, especially on fade routes, or out route plays or slant plays. Danny Amendola can do everything when he's this year's Julian Edelman, which was the unfortunate part of the season was Julian Edelman in the preseason tearing his ACL and not being able to be there for his team. And that right there really did hurt at first, but it did hurt not to see him there. And I really wanted to see him play again this year. I think he's one of the most special players that can do everything on special teams, can run out of the backfield too if you need him, put him in the slot. And he's such a mismatch for defenses. He's a nightmare to deal with, on top of the enormous variety of nightmares that any defense coordinator has to deal with this Patriots offense. Now, the other players, Brandon Cooks, who's your downfield threat player who can make impossible catches that nobody thought is possible. And especially third down situations, if you need somebody to throw downfield, you better look out for him as well. But defensively, too, this year, you had some great players like Eric Flowers on that defensive line. And then on corner, you got Malcolm Butler this year and Patrick Chung. So they really have some good players. And these are the 2 of the top 5 scoring defenses playing each other, and 2 of the top 5 scoring offenses playing each other. That is a rarity. This is only, I think, the second time in Super Bowl history that's ever happened where you had 2 teams in that stratosphere of stats. Now, for the game, but getting to the Patriots, so they went, the only time that they lost was against the Miami. One of the few times they lost was to the Carolina Panthers and the Chiefs, 2 out of the first 3 games of the year. They had a 2-2 start. Not great, but you know what? They really turned things around. That winning streak I mentioned. Propelled it, and then came the Pittsburgh game where they won 27-24. That gave them the number 1 overall seed in the AFC side of the playoffs. Had they lost that game, been number 2, maybe things could have been different. Who knows if the Patriots would have been in the Super Bowl or not. That remains to be seen. We'll never know. But what we do know is, with that number 1 seed, they had the week off, and they played the Tennessee Titans, who were coming off their 22-21 victory over the Chiefs in the wild card round. Well, Brady had 3 touchdowns and won his 10th playoff game with at least 3 TDs, which is the most in NFL history in the playoffs. And James White had a rushing and receiving touchdown. Amendola came up beautiful, 112 yards. And Mariota was sacked 8 times by the Pats defense, which is a franchise record. Yeah, for that in the playoffs. So then they advanced championship Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a Jaguars team that beat the Bills 10-3 in the wild card round. Then they go into Pittsburgh 27-23. I think that was the score over the Steelers. Beat them twice in the same season, and now they played New England, and they were up. Yeah, they had a 24-10 lead. Now they had a 20-10 lead over them going to the fourth quarter, and Danny Amendola was the savior on the first touchdown when he crossed to his right on first goal and 9. Beautiful how he was able to weave in and out and get the touchdown play. Then on the game-winning drive, when he drove the ball 30 yards from the 50 on the kickoff, then you had 20 yards from the 50 on the kickoff, then a 15-yard play to James White, then the 8-yard play to Amendola, the 2-yard rushing quarterback sneak by Brady, then second, it's fourth down. They go for it. Eventually, it's fourth down and goal, and they go for it. The ball snapped to Brady. He's looking everywhere. Then he goes to the back of the end zone, and both feet inbounds. Control the ball. Danny Amendola gets the game-winning touchdown. And they win. Yeah, they win 24-20, and now they're playing the Eagles. Both teams, remarkable seasons. How they got to this point. The matches that I'm looking forward to the most is going to be how the Pats' offensive line deals with Fletcher Cox. Because if the keys for the Eagles to really win this game is pressure on Brady. You got to pressure him to no end, but you don't play cover 3. Play a lot of man. Play the occasional zone, but not too much. Don't give Brady an insight to saying, oh, they're going to play zone, fine. I know what to do. Some dink and dunk pass plays to move the chains, and that's it. Just like he did with Jacksonville eventually. Do what Jacksonville did in the beginning, where you pressure him up the middle and you get in his face. I mean, you really got to get in his face and come swarming on him and not give it away that you're blitzing him, because he can read teams at times pre-snap and make audible plays. Not many quarterbacks can do that. Another thing the Eagles have to do to win this game, Jay Ajayi has to be the centerpiece, running the ball a lot, moving the chains, killing the clock, keeping Brady on a chair and not on the field, and make him bored to death. And score, though, too, as well. Don't just have clock-killing plays and not be able to produce any points. And then what was the point of killing all that clock? Look at what happened in Super Bowl 39 with all that clock killed and how well that did for the Eagles. Don't make the same mistake that McNabb made. If you have to towards the end, if you're down, you go no huddle. But if you're up, kill the clock, especially with Ajayi. That's where he's going to come in, especially Jay Ajayi. Now, the other thing, too, that's going to really be important is the receiving match. Who is going to guarding Gronkowski? He is going to play. He got concussed in the title game, but he's been cleared by the NFL to play. Now, who is going to be your best weapon to take on Gronkowski? Especially, as I mentioned, on 3rd and long or red zone situations. That's where the Patriots like to go to the most. And if you're going to go one-on-one, you better come up with a hell of a game plan at the line of scrimmage and disturb his routes. Otherwise, if he's got you beat from the line of scrimmage, that's it. Signed, sealed, delivered. He's going to get a touchdown, or he's going to get a big first down gain. And please do not hit him in the head. I know it's tempting, but there's a thing called unnecessary roughness penalties. You do not want to give them 15 yards. Don't make the same mistake that Barry Church made. Just saying. That did lead to a touchdown, by the way, for the first touchdown that they had in the game against the Jaguars. Now, for the Patriots to win, defending the run is going to be paramount. Stopping Jay Ajayi, boxing 8 people. And then let's not forget, Foles, he played against two teams that were just inferior. This time, he's playing a much superior defense than what we've seen in the last 2 weeks. No offense to the Vikings. They were one of the best defenses in the league, but they were just agonizing. They gave up 10 of 14 on third down, which was unlike them. I don't know if that's going to be the case this time around. And the other key for the Patriots to win, too, is just Tom Brady being the general, getting them down the field. And especially and that's my favorite word of the night. If you heard me say that, please do not have a shot or anything. All right, I've said it way too many times. And, yeah. Anyway, especially, with Tom Brady, if he has enough clock left, he can drive his team down the field. That's where he's best at, is those 5-minute drills, whether it's 5, 4, 3, or 2-minute drills. If he's got time on the clock to get a scoring play, and if the Patriots are down by a score, watch out. Over the chance to win the game, watch out for Brady in those situations. You do not want to give him any time on the clock. But for the Patriots, let Brady be Brady. Let him do what he does best, and that's be the general under center and guide his team. And let Belichick make the decisions ultimately. And this is going to really be a great litmus test for Josh McDaniels when he goes to Indianapolis and Matt Patricia when he goes to Detroit. How they fare in this game and could determine how they'll fare next year in their first head coaching. Well, the first head coaching gig really for Matt Patricia. This will be McDaniel's second coaching gig. He was with Denver. Didn't turn out so well in the end. I can't wait for the commercials. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting to watch, especially, I don't know, the fact that the first commercials, it was like $142,000 for a 30-second spot for Super Bowl one. Actually, no, it was $42,000 for a 30-second spot for Super Bowl one. Now, it's $7.7 million. That's just insane right there in the face of it. To see that kind of price that companies are willing to pay to get their products out there. But they will. You'll see the latest blockbuster trailers come out during Super Bowl Sunday. You'll see the most insane, comedically conceived commercials and some duds. I remember some commercials that made absolutely no sense whatsoever, that made me scratch my head and ponder, what was the point? There have been some ones that were so racy that never made it to Super Bowl Sunday. There are ones that are too politically motivated that never make it either, because politics and religious organizations are they're not allowed to advertise on Super Bowl Sunday too. And neither are indecent commercials, like really, really indecent commercials. Yeah, there have been some suggestive commercials, but there were some commercials that took it too far that we're not going to see. The food, of course, is always great. The camaraderie, the family, the friends that we're going to be with. And the amount of people that I'm going to have to text on Sunday when Justin Timberlake takes the field. Will NSYNC be there? Yes, I think they will. After all, that was the group that made him famous. You don't forget where you come from. So I think Justin will have them. After all, he had them at the VMAs when they gave him the Vanguard Award. I definitely think they will be there with him on the field in Minnesota. And then we're going to see Janet Jackson, because remember, the last time they were together, that was the incident that started the whole 15-second, the whole 10-second delay that we see on live television. And it was just for a second, and nothing really was. I didn't really see anything, honestly. That's just me. It was very quick, and he made sure to cover Janet when that took place. Well, anyway, I think she'll be there for redemption from that performance, and we're going to see some awesome, amazing moments that are going to make you be filled with wonder, happiness, shock, and awe. Super Bowl Sunday is just the greatest day, the penultimate game of this 2017 NFL season. Which team do I think will ride into the sunset and get that Super Bowl trophy? Well, folks, we've come to that time of the hour. We're in the final 5 minutes. So I'm going to give you my pick of who will ultimately walk away with the Lombardi Trophy. I'm hoping that this time I will be a little more successful with my pick. During the week, people were asking me, who do you think is going to win? Who do you think will take the trophy? Who's going to be the winner of Super Bowl 52? And I've told some people and some others I haven't. I should have just been equal and not said anything at all and had them just watch my show because, I guess that sounds a little selfish in a way, but I do want people watching the show. I like it. I enjoy it. It's very fun. Well, at the end of the day, I took a lot of things into consideration with their offenses, defenses, and I think I've come to a decision. And this is based on the ability, I think, to defend the run, playing sound defense, and I think ultimately this team will be able to will have the answer to Brady and pressuring him and doing what the other teams have failed to do in the previous 2 weeks. That's right, folks. I am picking the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles to win Super Bowl 52 by a score of 28 to 21. At the end of the day, I think it will be high scoring in terms of the passing, but I really believe Philadelphia will come up with that game-ending play. They'll get the last drive, and it's going to be, of course, Alshon Jeffrey, who's going to be the X factor for them. Could be the MVP this year. If the Patriots win, their X factor would be Chris Hogan. But really, at the end of the day, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles by that score. May not be the case, may be the case. Either way, I think we're about to see one of the biggest upsets and one of the best games in Super Bowl history. I know that's such a proclamation to make just 2 days before this festival of football. Festivus for the rest of us. But Philadelphia will win their first ever franchise title. Look out for them. There's going to be some great matchups to look for. There's going to be some great opportunities in this game. I don't think it will be boring at all. We hope it's not. And this time around, Philadelphia will correct a lot of the mistakes that they made in their previous Super Bowl too. If they got to go no huddle, they will, for sure. And a lot of run-pass option. Don't be shocked to see New England try a lot of those flea flicker plays that they did in the title game against Jacksonville. But at the end of the day, Philly, I think, will be able to key in on those plays and make the proper adjustments on defense. And that's really it. That's who I'm going with. It was tough for me. I was leaning towards New England at first, but ultimately what made me decide is the whole underdog mantra, that proverbial chip that's on their shoulder. For Nick Foles to lead this team to Super Bowl, they will erect a statue right next to Rocky. I don't know. That will happen, but maybe it will at the library. I really do think that's going to take place. It's going to be fun. If you want to see if my pick is correct for Super Bowl 52, watch the live telecast of Super Bowl 52 from Minneapolis, Minnesota, 6:30 on NBC with Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya calling the game. It's going to be just the ultimate party for America. For all the hardworking men and women at CTV who do their very best to provide us with good quality television, as always, from my good man behind the booth, Mr. Kenneth Graham, thank you for getting this image right behind me. Thank you, folks at home who tune in every single week, whether you're at a bar, your restaurant, or living room. For all those people, for everybody, I'm Eric Rosen. We'll see you next week for the season finale of the Blitz Zone here on CTV. Good night. Peace and love, Staten Island. Peace and love.